Me, I cannot do that.
Okay, so that's our topic. Common mental health disorders and their remedies.
When a child is going through a lot at 14, she must have some mental health issues, yeah?
So there's someone here to help us define a lot.
You're not paying house rent, you're not paying school fees for anybody, you're not paying for the food you eat, you're not paying for your transportation to school, yet you're going through a lot.
Okay. Dr. Miracle Ehoma is with us. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. He's a clinical psychologist.
Thank you.
Define a lot.
Coming from a 14-year-old.
A lot is plenty things.
Plenty things.
So I like you to decrypt that because she has a point. And you have also corroborated it before that when anyone says they're going through a lot, they're actually going through a lot. But a good number of us are wondering, what are you talking about? You're just 14. Or even a 20-year-old that is just transiting from, maybe it's from
School, university.
school to back home, or even from, in some cases, from secondary school to university. You say you're going through a lot.
A lot.
Was there a lot?
Well, I think that would be the best people to tell us what that a lot means. But
From your experience,
Yes.
what can it mean?
it could mean it could be a variety of things actually. Yeah, from where you're sitting or standing, you might think that okay, what are you going? You're not paying house rent, you are not feeding anyone, and all of that. But they could be going through peer pressure. They could be going through. They could be going through academic issues. They could be going through societal pressure as well. You know, for instance, I had an experience with a young boy at about, I think the guy was maybe 17 years old. And then he was also talking about something like this, going through a lot. And for him, the issue was that he had friends who were involved with internet fraud. And they were already looking a type of way. They had things he didn't have. You know, they had money.
Conflict.
And yeah, so he started having that internal conflict. Like, okay, what's up with
Should
me?
I join them?
Should I join them? Should I not join them? Look at what my friends have. Look at what I'm deprived of. So for him, that was a phase and something he had to decrypt, like you said.
That was a lot.
Yeah, that was a lot.
It's interestingly, the World Health Organization seems to have a code for it. They call them CMDs, common mental disorders. And it says depression and anxiety are the leading contributors to the global burden of disability. That is for disability. For you, what would you say are the common or most common mental disorders? Some of which people may not, we'll come back to mental disorders that people don't even know that they have, that they carry around. But what for you are these the most common that you say in our
society?
Yeah, I think that World Health Organization is correct because disability is wide range. Mental health disorders are also a part of disabilities, right? And depression and anxiety actually are the highest. Even in my personal practice, I've dealt with clients dealing with anxiety and depression more than any other mental health condition. So yes, personally, that's correct. And generally, according to World Health Organization, that's also correct. Because World Health Organization also said that there are about 970 million people who are dealing with a mental health condition, one mental health condition or
1 billion.
970 million.
Oh, that's 1 billion.
That's about 1 billion, yes. Just 30 million short. Yeah. One in 8 people, you know, have a mental health condition.
What year was this?
Now look.
That was 2019.
But we don't reach 1 billion now.
Yes, it would have increased by now. And depression and anxiety are about 60% of that number.
Miracle,
Yeah.
can you please explain to us why we are seeing more of this now? People are talking a lot more about their mental health status now, more than ever before. Why is it?
I would say two things. The first is that people are becoming more aware. Awareness. People are becoming, they are beginning to know, okay, what mental health is. For instance, we have about, say, 3-4 generations. There's a generation Y, there is a generation X, and a generation Z. And we have Alpha right now coming along. And the people who are most aware of their mental health, according to statistics and even my personal experience, is the Gen Z. They're the ones who seeks mental health support more than any other generation. So they are more aware. So people are more aware of their mental health. They know what mental health is. They know that it's okay for us to talk about it and things like that. That's one reason. The second reason is the complexities of our time. The complexities of our time are a bit more than it used to be, right? For instance, let me give an example. In your generation, sir and man, and even me, kind of when I was growing up, if you wanted to watch pornography, how easy was it? It was complex to watch pornography. Number one, television starts showing at 4 p.m. right?
And shuts down after the news.
And then you even had to have a TV. And then you had to have a DVD for you to be able to watch pornography because phones were non-existent. So, and you had to be rich. You had to be middle class to have that. So the poor could not watch pornography. So you have to be middle class to watch porn. And then
which reduced their access
to it,
and also reduced their frustration,
exactly,
and also reduced their depression.
Yes, because for instance, an Italian cannot wake up tomorrow morning and feel like eating a forero and fufu because it is not in his repertoire. So what you are
1% of them
it's not in repertoire. So if, for instance, you've not come across pornography, you don't know what you are missing. You don't know what you're missing, right? So for us, it was a bit difficult then, right? And of course, sometimes you had to do it in groups. So okay, you have you have DVD and you have TV. So we'll come to your house to watch it at so time when your parents are out of the house and when your siblings are not in the house. Right? But right now, if I want to watch pornography right now, just on the clink of my finger, I have access to over 1 million sites of pornography.
Even the ones that don't want to watch.
Even the ones that don't want to watch.
I remember an experience. I was heading the library of a broadcast organization, so the digital library. So the days of pop-ups were wild. So for whatever reason, I just got into my office, and it was the organization's system. I just got into my office as soon as I powered it up, right on your face. So even if you don't want to watch it, the pop-ups are also there. Making even the much younger children vulnerable.
Yeah. So those are the two reasons it seems
like. Let me say something. When we were growing up, I don't think I ever heard of any case of any student committing suicide.
Okay.
So it would give the impression like that we didn't have mental health issues when we were growing up.
Okay.
Because we didn't hear of it, we didn't hear of depression, we didn't hear of people feeling like killing themselves. Kill yourself? What are you thinking of? It was like you had gone completely mad if you even spoke about it.
Yeah.
Of course, it didn't get talked about. It didn't get done. So why all this, should I say, much ado?
Yeah. It falls back to the same reasons I just mentioned: awareness and complexities. So, and okay, maybe a third reason. Maybe the previous generation also had a bit more resilience. Right, and better coping mechanisms.
How so?
Yeah, because of course, right now with the advent of things like technology, social media, resilience of people are reduced. For instance, we have reduced attention span. People, want it quick and now. So if you're doing, in fact, if you do anything around video, they will tell you make it short because people don't have the time. They want short videos. Attention span is low.
Greatly
so all these things have affected our resilience and how much we're able to cope. I read in the newspaper some years back about a lady who was 17 years old and committed suicide. Why? Because she failed JAMB. That was her reason, and that was her first time of writing JAMB. Now, and I was like, okay, you failed JAMB and then you committed suicide.
Write it again.
I failed O level 4 times. Not even JAMB, O level 4 times. I failed JAMB.
So you should have killed yourself 4 times.
Exactly. But I didn't do that because it wasn't in my repertoire. It wasn't part of my options. I had better coping mechanisms. I had other ways to deal with situations like that.
Are you sure you didn't kill yourself a number of times before coming back? But you know, you talked about depression being a major issue.
Yeah.
You may want to speak to one or two others that we may have, but on the website of the World Health Organization, for instance, we're seeing that one of the part of the signs, other symptoms of depression include poor concentration, feelings of excessive guilt, low self-worth, hopelessness about the future, thoughts about dying or suicide, disrupted sleep, changes in appetite or weight, and feeling especially tired or low in energy. Now, these are various levels, it would seem, of depression. I don't think many people watching and listening to you right now are aware that they're depressed.
True.
So, what would be your pointers to the people listening and watching right now on what to look out for in their lives?
Okay. So you've actually listed a lot of the symptoms of depression, right, that people don't know about. But for you to be diagnosed depressed, you have to exhibit the symptoms you've mentioned right now for most of the time for a period of 2 weeks.
Whoa.
Yeah. After which you would be diagnosed as depressed. So, because there's a difference between sadness and depression.
Can you be depressed without knowing that you are depressed?
Well, you will know. You will know. You might not just know because you will feel it.
You will not know it's depression.
You don't know it's depression.
But you are depressed without knowing that
without
you are.
knowing.
That's that question
Exactly.
she's making.
So if you are not aware, if you don't know about the symptoms, if you don't know things to look out for, you can be depressed and not know it's depression, but you would know how you're feeling. So you can tell somebody, I'm just, this is not my normal self, right? I'm somebody, for instance, who eats 1 bowl of rice. Now I'm eating 2, or I'm eating half. I sleep 6-7 hours before. Now I can barely have 4 hours of sleep. What's going on with me? I just get tired. I don't want to get out of bed all day. I just want to be in bed. So you will have those symptoms. But if you are now aware that those are symptoms of depression, then you can then know that, okay, this is what is called depression. You can seek help.
It sounds like eating disorder is another case altogether, right? Because again, I'm looking at the website of World Health Organization. It says in 2019, 14 million people experienced eating disorders, including almost 3 million children and adolescents. And it says eating. It gave some names to eating disorders and all of that. Now, you talked about eating disorder as a sign of depression. It begins for me with consciousness of the fact that you are eating a little more. People don't even know. They just do these things on impulse. Is there a way to manage it, and not get to that point of manifesting this trait of depression?
Well, early detection is something that is very important. So if you are able to detect it as early as possible so that you can nip it in the bud, it's very, very important and will go a long way, because a lot of the people who because when it comes to mental health conditions or disorders, they are actually in a range, in a continuum. So many times they are grouped into mild, moderate, severe, and sometimes extremely severe. So if the reason a lot of people grow from mild to extremely severe is because they don't detect it early, or sometimes they notice it and just excuse it away. Some people will say, black man, they get mental health issue, so they don't do anything about it, and just allow it to go. And then it keeps happening. Just like if you have an injury in a particular sport, and then something keeps reopening that injury, it gets to a point where it almost becomes irredeemable in that sense. That's how people get to that extreme position where they begin to now manifest outright and obvious symptoms for everybody to know that, okay, this person is dealing with this thing. So it's important to detect it as early as you can and then seek help.
So awareness is very important.
Awareness
You need to know yourself.
Awareness.
You've spoken a lot about depression. How about anxiety? What are the signs for that one?
Yeah, anxiety. But now, one thing about mental health conditions is that they are grouped in umbrellas. So depression, for instance, is a disorder under a group of disorders called mood disorders, because there are other mood disorders apart from anxiety, apart from depression rather. So anxiety is also that umbrella. So we have anxiety disorders, where we have things like phobia. Phobias are examples of anxiety, some anxiety disorders, where we have things like
it's a disorder, is it?
Yeah, phobias. Yeah.
Is somebody confessing something to you right now?
I can't look at the snake on TV.
You can't look at the TV?
I can't look at a snake on TV.
On the TV. Oh,
yes.
You're not the only one. Neither can my wife.
It's a phobia. So is it a disorder?
It's a phobia. So it is a type of anxiety. So that, of course, it's not like, it might not really affect your functioning. So it's not really affecting.
I just can't look at it. So once it comes, I go away.
So to be clear,
yes,
what you just said now in response to her brings that up. To be clear, these significant mental disorders have to be such that they alter your life or alter your lifestyle.
Yes,
One way or another.
They affect your cognitive, emotional, and behavioral functions. Cognitive, the way you think. Emotions, the way you feel. Behavioral, the way you act. Yeah. So
if you have a sustained way of acting, and then after some time that pattern of behavior is altered, then you need to go see a doctor.
Yes.
Wow.
I call it deviation from norm. It's a major sign you want to look out for.
Wrong.
Even for your loved ones, you want to, it's something you want to, even as a parent, deviation from norm. A person is behaving this type of way, and then over time deviates and starts behaving something else.
Perhaps this is please make a call if you can to parents, guardians, even the owners of business owners, supervisors of staff in organizations, because you hear this from time to time. Usually he's not like that. All of a sudden, something happened. What would you be telling them to act on right now?
Yeah. So it's important that they get some form of mental health education. Yeah. So that's for instance, there's a training I do with line managers in organizations, right? That help line managers to be able to detect when people are going through one thing or the other, and also provide some form of first aid intervention before if they need to now pass them on to a professional, because it's important that you know the symptoms of these things, know when a worker, a staff, a child, is going through a lot, right? Yeah, because sometimes if you're not aware, you will replace, instead of empathy, you give judgment. You will say, this child, what's wrong with you? Why are you behaving like a fool? Why are you behaving like this? Can't you behave yourself? This is how your mates behave. If it's in the workplace, you will say, what's wrong with you? You give them a query. You can even give them suspension, not knowing that they are going through something beyond their control. But if you are aware, if you are educated, you will provide empathy.
Okay. You conclude your thoughts on anxiety.
Yes. So on anxiety, we now have different. So we have post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD, which is a common form of anxiety. We have general anxiety disorder as well. So there are many anxiety disorders that we have under anxiety disorders. And anxiety disorders are actually the most popular of all the disorders, followed by depression.
So my fear of snakes, for instance, is an anxiety disorder.
It's a manifestation of anxiety, yes.
Okay, so
no, but you don't want to use the word disorder.
I don't use the word disorder for that
until diagnosed.
Yes. Because it's like I said, for it to be called a disorder, it has to impair
alter your lifestyle,
and alter your thinking pattern, emotions, and then behavior.
Okay.
Even though phobia can, when you are presented with that particular thing you're scared of. It can alter the way you're thinking, because phobias are irrational fear.
Fear of heights?
Irrational. Somebody's afraid of heights. There's nothing to be afraid of heights for.
Oh, really?
It doesn't pose any imminent
They will be
danger.
calling you.
Exactly.
So are you afraid of heights?
It will be calling you like this.
Shebi,
Okay, all the
he wants you to jump.
the people who are afraid of heights.
Yes.
How many times
Are they
are
jump?
they falling?
We are too afraid to fall.
So nothing at the end of the day happens.
No, the point is, you literally have to get a hold of yourself to prevent yourself from doing it.
Yes. So that's why it's irrational. Why it's irrational is because there is no imminent danger for you to be scared
What is this man
or
talking
afraid
about?
of.
What is this man talking about?
No.
This height has
Yes.
no railing, has no barricade, nothing to
The
hold
people
me.
who are scared of heights, even when there's a railing, they are scared. I know of somebody who he cannot even there's a railing as tall as this ceiling right now. He
Yeah.
can't look down because of the height.
What I
So there's no imminent danger
Because he
right there.
immediately feels dizzy.
Well, maybe not. Like, for instance, you said you are scared of snake even from the TV.
Yes.
Now, is that rational? In the sense that
The snake coming out to bite
the snake will not come out from the TV to bite you. There's no imminent danger.
Except
There's
when-
nothing to be scared of.
Unless
So that is a real irrational fear.
Yes,
Unless
it's
when
irrational.
Unless when it's 7D TV, that is the snake can.
But even on 70, you can't come out.
But
So this one about the height,
Yes.
I don't get it, because those of us who are scared of heights,
Are you so scared of height, man?
yes, I am.
Oh, okay.
It's like something is calling you to jump.
Okay.
It's in your brain. Or you try and look down and immediately you swoon because you immediately go dizzy.
Yeah.
It's like you're going to fall off it,
Yeah.
even though you're not making any step towards falling over. That's what you feel.
Yes, based on how you think, because feelings in themselves are not self-generated. Every feeling you have is powered by thought. Yes.
I don't get. The first time I realized, I was on the 22nd floor of a house. I went to the window and immediately I felt dizzy. So I had to move back. I said to myself, oh, you can't go near any window in this house.
okay, you know what's going to happen? She needs consultancy. but let's have this conversation.
But I'm not the only person who feels that way.
Yeah.
Well, I don't
but for many people who are scared of heights, they might not really feel the way you feel. I've encountered a few of them. They don't feel, it's not like they feel dizzy.
So essentially you're saying
They're just scared that, okay, they might fall off, or...
and if they
you know,
fall, the
exactly,
consequences
exactly.
is what's
That's
scary.
the rationale
It happens to
behind
Okay,
that
Which,
fear.
which is why I asked the question the other time. There are a good number of people who have these anxiety disorder, these mental disorders, or you know, how do I call it, semblance,
Yeah.
as you said, you know, to her, that are not even aware that these things are significant for concern, and it builds up over time, and it becomes something serious.
Yes.
Now you're telling her that, you know, it's not as serious as she fears, but then for some people, it has built up over time so severely that it has begun to impact their lives. What happens in that
Yes.
regard?
Yes. So, of course, at that point, you would need to consult with a professional to help you. Because, yes, like I said, it is because our minds, our brain cannot differentiate between imagination and reality. That is why, that is why you can be watching a TV right now or a movie. You know this actor. You know that he's still alive. You know he's well and breathing. But then he or she dies in the movie. And then you start crying. Or something bad happens to them in the movie, you start crying. You know this acted because somehow you've lied to your brain that what you're watching is real.
What brain did I use to lie to my brain?
Yeah, so you deceive your brain. Your brain can be deceived, is what I'm
The
saying.
brain lying to the brain.
Your brain can be deceived because your brain cannot differentiate between imagination and reality. So your brain can be deceived. So you can tell your brain something right now, and then it believes
it.
And then, of course, because your brain affects, and determines
being.
behavior. So it affects how you see life and then how you relate with it.
Why are you reminding me of the Indian film Nagin? Had plenty of snakes. You just heard.
Will you please behave yourself? What is it to be bipolar? That's another word that came upon us maybe about 10, 15, 20 years ago, which we didn't know anything about when I was growing up.
Yeah.
Suddenly, every other person is bipolar.
Yeah. Bipolar is also a mood disorder, right? It's an oscillation between depression and what we call mania. Mania is simply the opposite of depression. Why depression is low mood, mania is excitable mood,
Okay.
elated mood, right? So when someone has a bipolar disorder or bipolar condition, they oscillate between depression and that. So at this time, they are sad, moody, and all of that. At this other time, they are irritable, excited, talkative, and all of that.
Do they remember that they were just sad just a moment ago?
That's why it's a disorder. Disorders, mental health disorders have common similarities with physical health disorders.
Do they know that they were sad a moment ago?
Well, they would know, but it's something they can't control. That's why it's a disorder. So they know that they were sad a moment ago, but now they are like this,
And they don't know why.
And they don't know why.
So there's no middle of the road for them.
Yeah. So they keep oscillating between both poles. That's what's called bipolar.
How significantly does that affect life?
Of course. It affects because one of the things that affect is relationships, your relationship with people. Because imagine you are married, then this time your husband is excited or your wife is excited, And in fact, that excitability is even somewhat extreme because they are excited to a point where they become very energetic. They become very extroverted. They can even begin to talk too much, right? And things like that. And then the next moment, they're all to themselves. They are moody. They are sad. They are feeling down.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have a fear to express. No, not phobia, not mania.
Okay.
But the fact that the likelihood of parents transferring these things consciously or unconsciously to their children, is that a thing?
Well, transferring would not be the word
In
I
the
would
genes.
use. Yes, for genetic, because I think I said last time I was here that mental health disorders, the causes of mental health disorders are generally biological, psychological, and sociological. So yes, for biological, it can be transferred via genes,
Such as?
via DNA. Any mental health disorder, both eating disorders, can be transferred via
So if
DNA.
my daddy was eating too much,
No, well, eating too much is not eating disorder.
It's a mental disorder.
About how they feel when they are eating, not about the food in itself. Yeah, because for eating disorder, for instance, there are many types of eating disorder. The two most popular are anorexia nervosa and bulimia nervosa. Anorexia nervosa is a feeling of when somebody feels like they're adding too much weight. So they do everything possible to make sure that they avoid food, they avoid calories and things like that. In fact, when they eat, they can go and vomit. They can purge just to get off the food, to get the food off their system. Now, even though this person might be very thin, they still have that feeling
But they're
like
too big.
Okay, they are too big or they are going to get big. So that's anorexia nervosa. For bulimia nervosa, they engage in binge eating. They just eat uncontrollably. And after eating for a while, they get to a point where they feel like, okay, I'm going to get big. This is going to affect my weight. And then they also involve in purging behavior as well, right?
it is a disorder indeed. It has to be a disorder.
To purge off the food they have eaten.
It just has to be a disorder. In fact, it is a mental disorder.
Some of these things can be prevented, right?
Yes, they can.
How?
They can be prevented.
Which ones can be prevented and how does one prevent them?
Yeah,
You have 1 minute.
all mental health disorders can be prevented.
Okay.
Start
like I
with
said.
depression and anxiety, the most prominent ones. I would say.
Okay. Okay. Well, it's like I said, you still have to fall back to the foundation, psychosocial model, to say, okay, we don't have control over biology, right? Things like DNA. Even though sometimes we do, because things like drugs, for instance, can induce some of these things or can trigger them, and drug is biological, right, in that sense. So, but there are other things that we can do, because even though people, just like let me give you an instance. So for physical health, if someone's parents, say, dealt with diabetes or hypertension in their lifetime, there's a possibility that the children might also get to have it in their lifetime.
Yeah.
Right? It's the same thing with mental health disorder. But it doesn't mean they will end up having it. It's just a possibility, it's a propensity. They may have it, depending on their lifestyle. The same thing too with mental health disorder. Lifestyle would also determine if some of these things will be prevented or not. So if there's a particular mental health disorder in your family, then you want to make sure that your lifestyle is geared in a way that would prevent you from having that particular disorder.
Essentially, you are saying that people should go and study their genealogical history to know, okay, because when some people, when they want to get married, they say go and trace their family.
Yes, we used to do that, and that was very effective.
Yes,
because it showed patterns of behavior, and many times those things were true. Yeah, because when you see people marry from those families, you now see that there's a repetition of those patterns.
Yeah.
Okay. So even though our parents just did it out of maybe spiritual or whatever implications, they had mental health implications.
Well, common mental disorders. Let's call this one part 1, because we barely scratched the surface, but it is something that needs to be put out. Thank you so much this morning for coming. Dr. Miracle Ihoma is a clinical psychologist. And with that, we have come to the end of the... come back home.
As they say in our industry, it's a wrap. We'll see you next time with another edition, another very interesting edition, I might add. My name is Alero Edu, wishing you a happy weekend and all the best till we meet next week.
As you can see, she started meditating on the things that she's heard. You do the same. I'm good. Amaya Makide, have a wonderful rest of your weekend.